Welcome back to Down the Sideline. This week, we got Opie back.
Yay, I'm back, guys. I feel much better also.
And there's Chef.
I'm here also.
Chef, we don't get sick because me and Chef are, we took a poll last week that we're better than Opie because we don't get sick. Right, Chef?
Yeah.
And we totally won and covered the points.
I normally have the immune system of a Greek god, but last week, the man got me down.
All right, last week's picks that Opie didn't get to be a part of. He's not as good as us. Let me see. Chef won. Arkansas at Ole Miss. Ole Miss got destroyed.
Pick that. I called that.
Good job. Utah got destroyed by Arizona.
Absolutely destroyed.
We were both wrong on that one, and I got the UCLA pick right over USC.
USC got destroyed.
USC got destroyed. So lots of destroyed. Not much else to talk about. Everybody else played Cream Puff State. On to the next one. The poll from last week was Marshall is still not ranked according to the committee. Where do you think they should be ranked? There was 5 people that said 11 through 20, and all 5 of you are wrong. Only one person voted for 2 to 25, and that one person, whoever you are right.
Yeah, that'd have been my pick. That's what I said. Whenever we were creating the poll, I was like, yeah, that's where I would rank him. I don't think they could have beat anybody in the top 20. No way.
Nope, I don't think so either.
Top 25, but I think that's right. And hey, they're ranked 24 now.
Yep, there you go. Which moves us on to this week's poll, which Kyra White said, do you think Marshall deserves to go to the playoffs? Because they said, I don't think they should because they haven't played anybody good. I commented on that and said, I agree with you. And I think everybody else does.
No, I'm right. I just don't want that whole excuse of, well, Florida State's undefeated. They should be number 1. Well, Marshall's undefeated. They're in the top 25. What's strength of schedule shouldn't matter. They're undefeated.
Yeah, we'll cover lots of Florida State stuff in a minute.
Yeah, that'll come later. We'll have a long segment on that.
Yeah, I don't think those are comparable teams, and we'll talk about that later. But no, I don't think Marshall should be considered in the top 4. I think if they were ranked number 20 would be fine, but that's about it. Which
brings us to the poll for this week, which is going to be, we'll list all the rivalry games on there. You can pick which one you think is going to be the upset.
Yeah, because you got like Stanford, UCLA. If Stanford wins, UCLA is not making the Pac-12 game. If Missouri loses to Arkansas, they're not going to the SEC championship. It's one of those. It's a huge implication this week on a lot of games. So pick which one you think is going to be the upset.
Yeah, the biggest upset. I didn't quite say that one right. All right, moving right along, we're going to jump into Week 14. We only got 3 games we're going to kind of pick, and then we're going to jump into talking about, we're just going to kind of have a rant and discussion about a few other games. We kind of had a little argument beforehand. I had to keep telling Ope to shut up because the microphone is not on and everybody else wants to hear it. First game, number 15, Auburn at number 11, Alabama.
Number 1, Alabama?
Number 1, Alabama. That was a messed up hashtag with the horizontal lines weren't long enough.
All right, since you missed last week, you got to start this one off.
All right, well, let's see. I really, 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 really want to pick Auburn in this game. But unfortunately, I believe Alabama's going to win this one.
Any reason why?
Because I hate Alabama and they always win.
Okay, good enough. Chef?
I want to take Alabama too. I'd rather Auburn win. Once again, I don't like Alabama or Florida State. Well, this year. I mean, sometimes, I'll give it to them, but I'd rather Auburn win, but I think Alabama's going to win it, especially since they're playing at home. They play better at home.
Yeah, and like I said in a couple times, previous episodes, Auburn's defensive line looked atrocious, and Auburn's a power run team for the most part, and if, they keeps doing that, then it's going to be a long day for them. I got Alabama as well.
I do think, though, I saw, since I missed last week, it seems like last week, but I know Alabama played LSU, and I can remember in that game, I believe that the quarterback for Alabama threw the ball like 46 times. If Auburn is going to have a chance, it's going to be because Alabama threw the ball an ungodly amount of times and allowed them to stay in it. But if they run the ball like they can, then I don't think Auburn has a chance, like you said. Defensive line's weak for Auburn.
Yeah, I think they do have a little bit of a chance. Coming to think of that, you're talking about throwing the ball around. Alabama historically has had problems with the spread offense, with hurry up and high tempo stuff. So the game may be it's going to be close, but I think Alabama's got a little more horsepower, and plus it's rivalry game. So
you think it's going to come down to a missed field goal return for 6 to win the game again?
Maybe not one missed field goal, but if it looks like some of the other games we've seen over the years where there's 2 and 3 missed field goals and, missed opportunities, stuff like that. Yes, dropped passes, fumbles, turnovers, that kind of stuff. Absolutely. Moves us on to the next game, number 4, Mississippi State at number 9, Ole Miss.
19.
Number 19, good Lord, I can't read today. Number 19, Ole Miss. Mississippi State's a favorite by 2. Opie?
I'm going to start it again. Let's see. This one, by the way, just a little side note. I think I said, like, maybe first episode that would any of us really be surprised if Ole Miss finished with 4 losses. And if they lose this game this week, then that gives them the 4th loss of the year, which would put them right back where we think they – well, I don't know about we. I don't think that – I don't dislike Ole Miss. But anyway, for this game, I'm actually going to pick Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going to lose 4, but it's not going to be this week. I think that at home they're going to find a way to play spoiler to Mississippi. What's interesting is that if Alabama loses and Mississippi State wins, then Mississippi State wins the SEC West. So kind of a little bit of implication here, but I think Ole Miss is going to play spoiler this week.
With my pick, I think I'm going to pick Mississippi State. Even though it's at home, I think the game's going to be close. But with Treadwell, the receiver, he's out for the season. Bo Wallace had a bum ankle. I think Mississippi State's going to kind of pull it out on that one, even though I think Ole Miss is going to keep it close. They've come a long way. I think 2 years ago, they didn't beat a single SEC team. So they've come a long way, and if you're an Ole Miss fan, you're out there and you're listening to that, you got a lot to be proud of the Ole Miss team and what Hugh Freeze is doing. I think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with, on down the road. Chef, who you got?
I'm going to pick Mississippi State also. I think the Heisman, I would say one of the top front runners. Dak Prescott is going to run all over and pull a Tebow and take it away. Ole Miss got shut out against an Arkansas team that's a lot better than they get credit for. And I'm gonna say that they're just going to finish the season on the downward spiral. Hopefully they'll pick it up next season.
On to the next one. Chef and Opie wanted this one. Number 19, Minnesota at number 14, Wisconsin. Wisconsin, I think, is a 14-point favorite in this one. I'm going to go ahead and do this one myself, or go first. I'm going to go ahead and pick Wisconsin. Melvin Gordon. Minnesota's come a long way, too. They're a good team, but I think it's not going to be enough against Wisconsin. Chef?
I'm actually going to take Minnesota in this one. I want to pick underdog just because they're easily my surprise of the season. No doubt. I mean, 8-3, 5-2, playing for a chance right now. If they win this game, they're going to the Big Ten championship, and it's a rivalry game. It's the battle of the Paul Bunyan's axe, and they won it. I think they've lost 7 to 11 in a row, somewhere along those lines. They haven't won it in a long time, and I think this is their year that they can pull it off. So I'm going to take Minnesota over Wisconsin.
Opie?
I'm actually going to also take Minnesota over Wisconsin. I think this sets up not that I think that parity happens or not, but I think Minnesota beating Wisconsin sets up a rematch with Ohio State. They just played last week, I think it was, and setting up a rematch there for the Big 12 championship where they can play spoiler to Ohio State's opportunity. We don't know what's going to happen to get in the top 4. And I think, Big 10. My bad. But I think I'm going to take Minnesota in this one.
All right, those are the only 3 games we're going to cover. We're going to jump right in just talking about certain stuff because, like I said, we had these little debates and stuff back and forth. I think we're just going to start right at the top talking about a few games. Stanford and UCLA, you guys' thoughts on that game?
This one kind of ties in along with the Arizona State-Arizona game. UCLA is in control of their own destiny. Who would have thought 6 weeks ago that we'd be talking about UCLA winning the Pac-12 South?
I think everybody did with Brett Hundley. I think that 9-2 is a little more disappointing than they thought there because they lost some games they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, that's what I mean. About 6 weeks ago is when they were at 2 losses already, and they were 2 questionable losses, I believe. And now they're back up there to where we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. And Stanford gets a chance to play spoilers. It seems like I keep saying that for a lot of these games, but this is a big one here.
Yeah, for sure, because Arizona State, whoever wins that game is second place, and if UCLA loses, whoever wins the Arizona State game is going to the championship.
It's interesting, too, because was it Arizona State? I get them confused. That beat Oregon earlier this year.
Arizona,
yeah. So if cards work right, it could be Arizona again versus Oregon for Pac-12 championship.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Headed down south, we got Arkansas at Missouri. I think if Missouri wins that one, they play. Don't they win the SEC East?
They do, and Georgia needs them to lose in order for them to play for the SEC East.
Man, if I was doing a special pick, this would be mine. This was the pick that I was waiting for Arkansas to get their first SEC win. I was looking for it all season. They jumped the gun 2 weeks early, and they'll make it 3 in a row. I want Arkansas, and I hope Arkansas wins this game.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't know too much about Mizzou. I haven't. They kind of flown under the radar as far as me watching. All the focus has been on, Auburn, Alabama, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Georgia, LSU, everybody except Mizzou. And they, pulled out a 9-2 season.
And the same's been for Arkansas. That they're not going to finish with the same record as Missouri, but they definitely have seen. They've played all those teams you just named tough all year. So I think I don't know if they're going to win. They're definitely going to play this tough today. I actually want to see Arkansas win because I want to see Georgia play for the championship game.
Yeah, what's interesting about it is we got the college football pulled up on ESPN. There's not Vegas hasn't put up a line on it yet. So they're still, even Vegas is still trying to figure out what they want to do with it. It's not even. If it did, I think it would say even on there, not just be blank. Another one I want to talk about, we'll head back west and do Oregon State. To me, I think Oregon State is a lot like, it's the Arkansas of the Pac-12. The record doesn't show that they're a good team. I think they're, one game under 500. They're 2-6 in the Pac-12. But Oregon State, they're a good team. And, they've lost a couple of really good receivers and stuff that went to the NFL last year. But I forgot the quarterback's name, and I do this every time. No, Mannion. Mannion's a good quarterback. We'll probably see him in the NFL. They run a pro-style offense up there at Oregon State. And it's at Corvallis.
Yeah, and about this one here, it's a rivalry game, and also Oregon State's playing. I think if they win this game, then Oregon State gets bowl eligible, right? With 6 wins? Is that correct?
6 wins should get it to you.
So they're not just playing the rivalry game; they're also playing for those seniors to get bowl eligible. Which I don't know how much that carries over beating Oregon, but
yeah, I don't know how I feel about 6-6 teams being bowl eligible, but it is what it is. I don't make the rules. Jumping to the middle of the nation, I think Chef wanted to talk about, Texas?
Texas TCU. I think that game's gonna be a close one. The line's even 7 points because Texas is on a little streak right now. They went from being the laughingstock of the Big 12 to being middle of the road, beating teams and better than a lot of teams in the Big 12. And I think it's going to be a close game. Vegas think it's going to be a close game too. So I'm looking forward to this. I think if TCU doesn't put up a good show here, regardless, because they're going to get leapfrogged by Baylor anyways, but I think if TCU doesn't come out looking to play, there could be an upset. Not likely, but there could be.
There could be. Yeah, TCU could very easily come out flat.
Yeah, they could, but I think after them almost blowing the game last week that they're going to come out, and I think they're going to win by 3 scores, not just 3 field goals. I think it's going to be a 20-point win because I think they have to win big here to keep Baylor from leapfrogging them, assuming Baylor wins out. One thing I did want to say too, and you guys touched on this with the Ole Miss. I think if it wasn't for Mississippi State being as good as they have been this year, Ole Miss has still had a great year. They may finish with 4 losses, like I said, but they have nothing. If it wasn't for Mississippi State, Ole Miss would be the team that I would say had the biggest surprise coming into this year.
All right, which brings us to the last game we're going to talk about, possibly, is Florida at Florida State. Number one, I'm going to talk about how Florida State struggled with all kinds of teams. And me and Opie keep going back and forth about how well they've won all their games, so they deserve to be up there just because they're undefeated. Right, Ope?
But what I'm going to say is I'm not saying I'm a Florida State fan. I'm just saying that I got to bring some Florida State support to our show or whatever we call this. But
do you even know where the campus is at?
Yeah, it's in Florida.
We're at
Florida State. Like I said, I'm not a Florida State fan. I'm just trying to bring some realism to the game.
Some realism.
Yeah, because
hang
on, Alabama has also played a lot of close games this year when they should have lost to LSU and Arkansas, and neither one of those teams are ranked now. So we can't just penalize Florida State for playing close games against teams that are run-of-the-mill like LSU and Arkansas whenever they're winning. I'm not saying that Florida State's going to win the national title. I am just saying that they've beat every team in front of them, including Georgia Tech earlier in the year, which was ranked, and they're still ranked, and Clemson without Jameis Winston. And then they beat Louisville, and they beat Notre Dame, which Notre Dame is fallen off the map since then. So I don't even know if you count them as quality win, but that was a top 5 team they beat.
But I also said that Notre Dame shouldn't have been a top 5 team.
Right, you did.
And run-of-the-mill SEC teams are not the same as run-of-the-mill ACC teams. You at least have to agree with that.
No, I do agree with that. But
then how can you say that a close game against Boston College is the same thing as a close game against LSU at Baton Rouge?
I'm not saying that that's the same thing. I'm saying
It's
the
not.
same
Well,
as
how about the
Louisville
close game in
against
Miami?
The Louisville game.
That wasn't even an away game. There were more Florida State fans in the Miami stadium than there was in the actual Miami fans.
Right, and this week Florida State gets to play an SEC team. And so if Florida State beats them, then
a really bad
team. Florida already beat Georgia, so I mean they're not as bad as the record says.
Let me put this one out there for you then. What would happen if Florida played Boston College?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to compare those two.
What if Boston College came into Baton Rouge and played? Would that be a close game in your mind?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't know anyone. Drexel, I think, is the quarterback for Florida, so I don't know who's on there.
No, they benched him and got the other guy in there.
Harris.
So, okay, well, then I don't even know. But, I mean, also, you wouldn't have thought a couple weeks ago, would we have said Florida was going to beat Georgia?
No.
None of us would have picked that game, and they beat Georgia. So, I mean, I'm not saying that Florida State's the best team in the country. I'm just saying that they've beat every team in front of them. And they beat some decent teams, some good teams, and they've struggled against some bad teams.
They've struggled against a lot of bad teams, dude. That's the point I'm making. Probably pretty good, but we haven't seen that all year. It's week 13.
Yeah, we haven't. And so, I mean, we saw it every week last year, and every week we thought they were going to get beat. And then since they played Auburn and won, and when they played bad, it seems like that's been their recipe. Every game is just to play with whatever competition they're playing against and find a way to win it at the end. And
Chef, your thoughts?
I don't even know if you would consider this a win against an SEC team. I mean, the coach is already gone.
Yeah, Muschamp, he's out, isn't he?
They've already said Muschamp's not coming back next year. So he's just playing for the heck of it right now. He's got nothing to lose. So it could be a lot closer game than Florida State would like more than 3 points.
It's been close against Boston College. I mean, I don't know what to expect on this game.
Well, look at it this way. Let's just say Florida beats Florida State this week.
They should drop down to like 15th.
I'm not saying no. We're not going to talk about that. If Florida beats Florida State, and we already picked Alabama to win, and if Ole Miss gets beat by Mississippi State, then that means that Florida would have the same number of wins as Auburn and Ole Miss in the SEC. So, I mean, if Florida State beats them, does that not say that they're beating an SEC team that is 6-4 right now?
Yes, but I don't think you could find many people outside of Gainesville that are going to say that Florida's a good team.
And I agree.
They lost at Mizzou. They lost to Mizzou, lost to LSU. They lost to Alabama.
They only lost to LSU by 3, though.
Right, but that was at the beginning of it was in the middle of the year.
I mean, I'm not trying to give Florida that they're this great team, but I'm just saying that Florida State struggled, but if they win all their games, they deserve to be in the top 4, and they deserve to get a shot to play against one of these either SEC teams or a Big 12 or Big 10 or Pac-12. I mean, whoever they end up drawing in the bracket, I want to see them play somebody. And if they get blown out, then they get blown out.
No, but I think the point is that I still don't think they're a top 4 team just because they're undefeated. It doesn't mean anything. I'd rather see TCU in there at 3rd than I would Florida State or Baylor.
I would rather see Baylor in there or TCU or both of them.
I mean, even a 2-loss Michigan State team. Michigan State's good. I know they lost that close game to, or that wasn't close. It was close until the end to Ohio State.
I don't want to see a 2-loss team ahead of one of the 8 1-loss teams or 7 1-loss teams that's up there or less.
Well, I'm making a point. Yeah. But still, Florida State has not impressed me. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon. You made a point earlier before we started recording. What if they go on and win it? Well, if they go on and win it, next time we have a show, before the game, after the game, whatever, I'll make a point to say that, hey, you know what, Florida State, you finally proved something to me. But until you can beat Boston College and horrible Miami and not very good Clemson and North Carolina State, those kind of teams, before you can do that and not win at the last second on a field goal to all these teams, then I'm sorry. I can't help you.
What's an interesting line, and I don't know that they're going to win it for sure, but I think that now that Duke has lost, I think 2 in a row, I think Georgia Tech is going to win the the ACC, whatever the side is.
Yeah, they've already clinched it.
They have?
Yeah.
So Georgia Tech's going to win that one. If they happen to beat Georgia, then they could be playing a top 10 Georgia Tech team next for the championship game.
I don't think Georgia Tech's all that great.
Well, if they beat at Georgia, I mean, that's got to say something. I'm just saying that they could be playing another top team according to the rankings. And I don't know who Georgia Tech's played, and they run that whatever offense it is, and I don't like
triple options like a wing tee.
Yeah, I'm pulling for Georgia. I want Georgia to win the SEC East, but I'm just saying that they're going to be playing Georgia Tech in the championship game. If they happen to beat Georgia, they could be playing a top 10 team. And that's got to say something, playing another top 10 team. Even if you don't like Georgia Tech, they've still worked their way up the polls.
Yeah, I just think some of the top teams, in quotes, weren't really top teams. I said before, Notre Dame shouldn't have been number 5. They're not all that great. Right. Clemson isn't all that great. They were ranked.
They still are ranked.
What was the other one? What are they ranked now? 20th? 21st. I was a guess, and I got it right. Louisville, that's probably one of the better teams, even though their record really doesn't show it, and they're in the same conference with Florida State. But Louisville, they're probably one of the better teams in that one. Probably better than Clemson too, even though they have more losses.
They're 21-22.
But still, I don't know. My argument, I don't even like Florida State. I don't even really want to see them in the top 4. To be honest with you.
But I like you just been saying all along that Notre Dame's not that good, and I think that as the season goes on, you really do see the teams work it out to where by the end of the season you play 12 games. You really do find out which teams are the better teams. It doesn't matter if it's close games or blowouts. If you find out that I'm sure Notre Dame would take 10 or 11 close wins right now, as opposed to what have they lost, 4 in a row or whatever it is. I mean,
or Chef, you're too quiet, man.
I'm just listening. I'm watching the episode right now. I'm like, yeah, I'm watching it live.
You got to have some thoughts on it besides the ones you already said.
I'm not a Florida State fan, man. I would rather take a team blowing everybody out every week than a team that gets lucky every week. I mean, look, you could say it's not luck.
I forgot all about that too.
You could say it's not luck, but I mean, whenever it's just right place, right time, or fit it between 2 defenders or 3 defenders for a touchdown. I don't care if you call it threading the needle or not. That was freaking lucky. That was throw it, close your eyes, and touchdown. Oh, we scored on that. I didn't get picked. That was absolutely lucky. They should have lost a lot of games this year, and they haven't. I mean, you can't argue that they haven't lost. There's no doubt about that. But luck's not going to win you a national championship. Luck's going to get you destroyed in the national championship.
Do you think Alabama's probably the favorite to win the national championship right now?
No, I'd probably say it's a toss-up.
But I mean, Alabama's had several lucky wins this year.
Because if TCU made the 4th slot, and we had the show on that first game, and if it was TCU versus number 1 Alabama, 1 versus 4, I'd pick TCU all day and go down to the bank and put money on it.
Yeah, I think TCU would win that game too. But my point is that teams get lucky every week. TCU got lucky last week beating. They were down double digits in the second half.
Right, but I think the point Chef is making is that you keep seeing these lucky plays over and over and over and over and over again, and we're all sitting here going, when's this shit going to stop? When is somebody else going to stop playing not to lose and keep their foot on the pedal? When are we going to stop seeing a tipped pass to somebody else that scores the winning touchdown? When are we going to stop seeing all this?
Or a pass interference call in the end zone that's usually not called that cost Notre Dame the game.
But I saw it too, but we can't argue that wasn't a pass.
That was all pass interference, no doubt about it. But I mean, have you seen it called 90% of the time anywhere else?
Well, if he would have held his hands up, it wouldn't have got called. But when he grabbed the jersey, of course it was going to get called.
I'm just saying, a play like that hardly ever gets called, and that one got called. Granted, he held him. There's no doubt about it, but
they call that one all the time in the NFL. I mean, I don't know. I don't see as much college as I do NFL.
Well, the thing is, the way they done it wrong is that there's still rub plays in the NFL. They just execute it better. You don't run up to the guy, square up on him, and grab him under the shoulder pads. You run your slant route to the inside, and you nick his shoulder, which slows him down a half step, and that's all you need. That's all you need, just a step for a good quarterback to throw it in there.
The play was there to beat Florida State that game. I agree, and just the lack of execution on Notre Dame's part is what cost them that game.
Or the Miami game. I mean, it was a tip pass that the receiver just happened to be right place, right time, or the fact that Duke Johnson kept leaving with cramps all game. I mean, it's just one of those fortunate circumstances happen to fall their way, and that it's not gonna work out all the time.
I guess we can whip this dead horse to death all day long, but I guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree a little bit.
I got a question.
He's got a question. Okay.
How do you whip a dead horse to death?
You just keep beating on it.
Wait for it to come back alive and kill it again.
Yeah, it's a figure of speech, Chef. If you made it out of the house, sometimes you learn.
They don't have figures of speech on the internet.
Yeah, kind of like a possum eating a prickly pear, grinning ear to ear.
No, that's possum. That's possum eating shit.
I hadn't heard that one.
You hadn't heard happier than a possum eating shit?
No, I've heard eating a prickly pear.
You should get out more too. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. And we'll see you next time on Down the Sideline.
Go Baylor. We didn't even mention them this week. Go Baylor.
Later, guys.
Deuces.